was a little bit of a loser or a outcast as a kid. I put air quotes because I had great friends and I did fun stuff. We played outside in the woods all the time. But I mean, I was a little bit quiet, very quiet, especially in public. I didn't have any friends at all in school. I got bullied. This isn't the I got bullied as a kid video. But I just wasn't sure of myself. I didn't have confidence. Knowledge inspires confidence, and I just didn't really understand what was going on around me. I actually didn't even realize I was bullied in high school, but I was in a small class and there was only a few guys and I was not in with the guys. I actually had like a decade after high school, I had one of the main bully message me and be like, dude, I was really mean to you. I apologize. I was like, dude, it's no worries. I'd forgotten about it. But it is a real thing if you're sitting there and you have no friends at school. You got to be there all day. Not this video. The point of the video is, wasn't outgoing, was pretty timid, wasn't sure of myself, and my mom didn't let me join football. That was something I really wanted to do too, is I was like, man, I want to get out, I want to be on a team, I want to work hard, I want to, do this incredible sport. Didn't let me, but what she did let me do was join karate, which was one of the best things that she could have possibly let me do. There's something to be said about getting in there with another person sparring. It changes you in a way. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that flipped my life around. I'm just saying the discipline that's instilled, the confidence in your abilities that's instilled from practice, from discipline. Sometimes you don't want to go on a run. Sometimes you don't want to practice the kicks, but the sensei is going to make you do it anyways. Some of the most beautiful stories come from these guys, these outcasts, these alcoholics, these losers, whatever word you want to use for it, who are really struggling. Some of them, drugs, alcohol, some of them just don't have a direction. That's a big part of it, is they don't have a direction, they don't have a discipline, and they don't have purpose. And something that martial arts particularly, now of course I'm sure this applies to most sports, but wouldn't know because the mom wouldn't let me play football. I'm sure it applies to most sports. It gives you a purpose. It gives you, not an identity, but it gives you a reason to be in a schedule and working towards something greater than yourself, I guess you would say. Martial arts in particular, you are responsible for you and you alone. You have to show up to class. You have to do the sit-ups. You have to do the run. If you aren't doing it, you're going to get beat up. The sensei's going to notice. The sensei's going to push it out of you. And any good gym would do that. And a lot of these guys, I've studied these guys, a lot of them, Charles Oliveira, coming from the favela. Alex Pereira, coming from a rough part of San Bernardo de Campo. I can't speak Portuguese. My family can speak Portuguese. I can't. These guys are coming from, Dustin Poirier, Daniel Cormier, coming from Lafayette, Louisiana. These guys are coming from rough parts of town where, go listen to Daniel Cormier talk about what it was like growing up, at Dustin Poirier's high school. When you show up to class at a good gym, most gyms, I can't speak for all, of course, but when you show up to these gyms, you immediately are involved in a community of people that are responsible for themselves. They're responsible for their own discipline. They're responsible to learn something, to grow. That's a big part of it, is growing. Immediately with karate in particular, I'm being stared at because I'm one of those guys. But I'm trying to avoid people as much as I hate people walking around with a camera, but love the sport, so gotta talk about it. You're responsible for yourself, and when you walk in with karate, for example, there's a belt. It has a color. It signifies a level of not just pure ability and skill. Of course, there's, black belts that lose in the UFC, or there's white belts that literally win championship belts in the UFC and become world champions. But it shows that this person has applied themselves for a long time. Most reputable studios will not just throw a belt at you. And I'm speaking specifically of karate because this is what I have experience with, but in general, you have a sense of, they've worked their ways up. They've showed up time and time again. They're growing, they're learning. it gives you something to work towards. And I think men particularly need that discipline. And so when you're coming from a place, you know, for me, I don't have a sob story. I was fed. Great childhood. I'm very, very fortunate in that regard. But when you come from a place of maybe not being sure of yourself, a place of desperation sometimes, and these guys show up at these gyms, it can turn their whole life around, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Dustin Poirier said, I mean, so many fighters have said, if they didn't have mixed martial arts, they'd probably be in prison. Dustin Poirier, for example, literally was in prison. So, find a way to get some discipline. It forces you to push yourself, and you're responsible for your whole entire success or your whole entire failure. There's no one you can blame it on. Now, of course, if you can't afford the classes, or if you can't get there in the first place, that's a bigger problem, but I think there's something to be said for applying yourself to a discipline, and the fulfillment starts to radiate out of you. You start to become more sure of yourself. And the great irony, I wanted to talk about that too, is you'd think maybe that violent people, a lot of these people, Dustin Poirier, I use him as an example a lot. I studied his life a lot. I did a documentary on him on my documentary channel. You'd think that a violent kid, someone who's not got a good home, not got a good background, you'd think that that person probably shouldn't study fighting. Probably shouldn't study martial arts. I'm going to chill here as I close this video because it's shaded. You'd think that you probably shouldn't go and learn how to beat someone else up. But the great irony and dichotomy, I guess, is the people who are angry, who are frustrated with life and show up to a gym, they get that out. They learn discipline. They learn that you can't just go beat people up. They learn that they have responsibility as a man. What a beautiful story, man. Highly encourage you. Go check out the story. Not even just my documentaries, but go check out some of these guys' stories, especially if you're, you know, I've heard, I guess, stories of people, especially after the flu scare of 2020. A lot of people felt, you know, hollow or sad or depressed. Because, I mean, you're sitting inside all day long. Find a way to get connected. And in this case, I'm preaching martial arts, baby. Man, when you get in there and you put those gloves on and you put the headgear on, you get in there and you spar with someone, even if you're not trying to kill each other. I mean, it does something to you. Highly recommend. It's scary, but it's not scary. Subscribe. We'll talk to you later.